we can't fully grasp geopolitical events. Instead, we build representative and abstract maps from the information we ingest. To form more accurate maps, we need to aggregate information about geopolitical events from various sources, as they are each distorted by their framing and position. Extracting knowledge and gaining an understanding about any geopolitical event is thus a process of assembling and reading these maps. To construct this map, I first needed to dissect this information into its components. Information about geopolitical events inherently contains a geospatial and temporal component, the where and the when. Answers to questions like who and the what require us to add an additional dimension. We could introduce a social dimension, as geopolitical events occur not only in time and space, but manifest and are mediated through the relationships, connections, and actions between different entities. GIS software excels at geospatial mapping and was built to serve a vast array of use cases and fields. It opts for mass applicability and traits specific functionality. It lacks a sufficient framework for socially contextualizing the data it maps geospatially. Conversely, network modeling software affords us the ability to plot and map the social connections between entities. It positions information via its connections to other information rather than its geographic position. This deterritorialization renders it incompatible with geospatial mapping. A map of geopolitical events requires the paradoxical unification of these domains. I investigated various methods for how I could construct, interact, and navigate such a map. I will present my findings through a selection of sketches and diagrams I produced throughout this research process. Inspired by Yanis Anakis' graphic notations, I explored visualizing social dynamics or relationships through the design of a square. In so, embedding the social damage within the temporal map, or timeline. I then experimented with other geometries I could use to project the score onto. I sought these geometric alternatives to explore how their topology could enable exploring these events non-linearly. This was an interesting but ultimately unintelligible direction. To facilitate, rather than complicate an understanding of geopolitical events, I realized I needed a less abstract approach. Searching for more tangible representations, I came across the concept of a Chernoff face, a method for translating quantitative information into standardized anthropomorphic symbols. I experimented with designing an anthropomorphic symbol grammar, as it evokes a universally encountered symbol, the human body. I was then reminded of the Mayan hieroglyphic stairway and stelae in Copan, Honduras, where entire histories are conveyed using a system of symbols depicting naturally occurring objects and phenomena. Exploring how I could illustrate the relationships and hierarchies between different people and organizations, I recalled the ebony Ujama sculptures made by the Maconde in Mozambique. They portray the dynamics and hierarchies of generational lineages and can be read both from afar and up close. Carried away, I stepped back and outlined the fundamental features a geopolitical map should contain. A geopolitical map should be legible at various scales, relational rather than absolute, and dynamic. Essentially a living structure in that it senses, processes, adapts, and communicates. A map is an ordered positioning of information. I sought examples from science and nature as to how things are assembled, or how things assemble themselves. From springs in tension, repulsion in magnetic fields, to the folding of amino acid chains. Borrowing the botanical term rhizome, the underground horizontal growing plant stem, Deleuze and Guattari liken information to a living network defined by its connections, constantly growing, sensing, and being sensed. I adapted this model to geopolitics, calling the resulting structure a geozome. Where mapping a geopolitical event constructs a geozome, and reading that map is an act of exploring it. The challenge was then to create a system for categorizing and connecting the information comprising the geozome. I adapted and appended Barry Smith's basic form ontology, or BFOM, and created a modular hierarchy of general categories specifically tailored for geopolitics. The geozome uses semantic triples to link pieces of information into complex webs, weaving together related people, entities, and organizations. We could also zoom out and see the connective cluster formed around a particular object, personal, or organization. Given definition through the ontology and contextualized through its connections, geopolitical neighborhoods become visible, resonating the hub and spoke model of geopolitical agents outlined by Prashad in Washington Bullets. Inspired by this figure I encountered in a paper about a procedural modeling technique called graph grammars, I started creating a corresponding set of symbols to match the ontologic types. Every symbol is derived from its parent symbol, having undergone some modification. Thus, their form is defined by their definitional properties rather than their physical form. Hierarchical ordering has many other applications. Demonstrated in this timeline prototype, the visibility of different date components follows a hierarchical pattern. They have their limitations to them. In this prototype for a map, a quad-tree tile hierarchy was tested. Its structuring of space proves too rigid and presents various obstacles. We can conceptualize navigating both the temporal and spatial dimensions. The Geozome offers us a new method of navigating the various facets of a geopolitical event. Every connection in the Geozome circuitry acts as a path we can hop from one thing to the next related thing. The reverberations of every action can be mapped and traced, revealing novel patterns. Maps are quite literally navigated. The point one stares at migrates from one location to the next, unbound by the constraints of physical or temporal translation. The Geozome enables non-linear navigation of geopolitical information across temporal and spatial dimensions, uncovering patterns and connections.